And we take you back to our earlier story about 10 persons picking up forms to contest for the upcoming presidential primaries of the New Patriotic Party. And just yesterday, a group of Queen Mothers picked up the form on behalf of Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kojo-Kyerematen. That form has been received, and the campaign team is upbeat about the contest up and ahead. But how will Alan fare in the midst of 9 others competing against him? Let's bring in Into, who's a former leading member of the NPP as well, General Secretary. I need to put that on record. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on The Pulse. And yesterday, of course, you watched the exercise as it unfolded. The question about whether or not these market women were able to raise the money, first of all, to buy that form for Alan Kojo-Kyerematen. What does it signify for you?
Thank you very much for the opportunity for Alan's campaign to interact with your cherished listeners and viewers. That, for me, was a very important statement. Now, the background to that is that during one of our regional tours, we were in the Shanti region, and I believe this particular group was the Race Course Market Group, one of the market groups. They came with a suggestion that when the time comes and the NPP opens the nomination, they are the ones who are going to buy the forms.
That's what they told you. They gave that promise.
Yeah, there was a promise. So we thought, this sounds interesting. I mean, of course, we thought that was a nice statement.
Right.
So I don't know whether we're really thinking about it or like banking on that. But I must say that Alan has a very wonderful relationship with market women generally and traders across the country. From the time that he became Trade Industry and PSI Minister, President Kufuor's time, and then when again he became Trade and Industry Minister, President Akufo-Addo's time. So let me say that Alan has a long-standing natural relationship. And during that period of this relationship, there has been very important developments when traders will have major issues, issues of policy that impinge on their businesses and trading, issues of welfare, fire disasters in markets and his responses and so on. So put together, the market women and the traders generally see Alan as one of their own, more or less. So when nominations were opened and we had this call from Kumasi that, but we did promise that we're going to do this for Alan. We haven't heard anything from you guys yet. I said, wow, I thought...
Initially you thought they were making fun of the situation.
And then, of course, I have been given that responsibility by Alan and the team to handle matters relating to the election itself. Right. So that it was like, okay, so why don't we connect with these women? And here we were. They said, listen, we did make this promise. We want to follow through. Of course, I made contact with our regional coordinator in Ashanti and said, why don't you just then follow up on this discussion? And then the women are saying, so when do you want us to come to Accra? So, of course, we had to help organize it all.
The dates and everything.
Yes, we tried to get them a date and then help them put some transport arrangements together. And it was clear that these are generally elderly women, the leaders, market women leaders, basically. So we had to also help with a bit of logistics, because you couldn't just allow them or ask them to take care of themselves all the way through. That wouldn't be right or even fair. So we helped put it together. And then the next thing was that, of course, Alan himself was very much in favor. We're all excited. So the day comes and he signed the authorization for them to
pick it up.
Then we had to help.
And what was instructive was that our reporter indicated that they had raised an amount in excess of the
That's what they
forms.
told us. But of course, when they raised that issue, what we said was that actually the fee for the forms is only part of what Alan needs to pay for the whole process. You pay 50,000 cedis for the forms, and upon successful completion, you return the forms with another 300,000. So it will mean that we have 1 foot ahead of that section of the process too. That was a very exciting moment for Alan's campaign. And beyond just the gesture, what blew me off, and I realized it also touched Alan, the statement that the leader made, that we are pleading with NPP delegates that bring Alan, because we are in the market, we interact with all manner of people. And I had heard a lot of these things myself, you know. When we went round the country with Alan, you meet NPP people, and they'll tell you, General, you are the leaders of the party. Please bring us Alan. Otherwise, we won't be too happy with you guys. Some will tell you, otherwise, we're not going to vote. Basically, you hear this, and the women come to echo the same sentiments to us and to the nation yesterday. I thought that was a very important statement.
But if you have 9 other persons also picking up the forms, it's making the contest tougher for the Alan campaign, isn't it?
I wouldn't say so. Of course, I've been through a couple of elections, and no electoral contest can be taken for granted. You know, none whatsoever. If you are contesting just one other person, the probability is 50-50. When it is against 2 others, the probability reduces for you. So if you are going to contest against 8, 9 others, I mean, statistically, the probability is getting tighter, you know, and the red ball or the white ball might fall just anywhere. But it is also not simply a question of statistics. It has a whole lot of background to it, what is going on in the party, what the individual contestants are made of, what they stand for, and how the party people, specifically the delegates, and generally the voting public also see them.
And
how they see them.
I mean, the opinions are widely divided into 2 sides. Some saying, well, it's good for the party because it makes the process democratic. Yes. There are those who also feel that it's an indication that all is not well with the NPP as we speak, and that's why you're doing some sort of soul searching to see which of these 10 will be the best to represent the party.
Whichever way you look at it, I would think both will be right. Those who would say it is good for democracy, they would be right. Those who would say it is an indication that all probably is not well would also be right, interestingly. So now you've got to pick up these 2 sides of the same issue and then make sense of it. Now, when you say it deepens democracy, why not? When an institution or a political party, for that matter, is truly democratic, you allow people to express their choices and preferences freely, without coercion, without any blackmail, without any cajoling or anything extra that would detract of their own free will. That is good. But when I was General Secretary, and for the first time, you had the biggest number of people, 17, contesting the party's presidential primary, I thought it was a PR negative, especially coming from a PR and communications background myself. I thought it was a PR negative. Why? Because I thought, look, already people have perceptions about politicians, and they see politicians as people who always want to look for an opportunity to take advantage of the people, so to speak. Now, if they find in one party 17 people wanting to do musical chairs with only one chair in the center, they're asking, so this chair must be really comfortable. It must be really nice. So these guys, what is in there? It raises some bit of negativity. So I thought, in that respect, it was a negative. So that's why I would tell you, on both sides of the coin, those who would be raising those issues would be right.
You're right. Yeah. But you have the advantage of the super delegates conference. Is
that
it
is exactly,
to reduce, to trim down the numbers?
So this is going to be the first time we're going to have super delegates, because this is going to be the first time, because when this happened in 2007, it turned out not to be particularly positive.
Okay.
I'm talking about the numbers.
Right.
So then we had to go through some kind of a constitutional amendment to try and scale down the numbers so that going forward, the process itself, first of all, will be a bit sanitized. And then secondly, you would reduce the tensions and the acrimonies by the end of the primary process itself. So after that, those who are studying and taking a second look at the party constitution and that particular amendment are even now saying, look, we still have to look at this issue again and find better ways
of further reducing numbers?
Yes, of handling it such that we would not open ourselves too much, in spite of being a democratic institution, we would not open ourselves too much to all of the jostlings and the competition that goes along with this process.
But what's the fear anyway? Just allow everyone to run.
It's not a question of fear. You are looking at doing things better if you can.
Right.
So those are things that are coming up. I mean, we still have the constitution as it is, and we're implementing it.
Right. If you look at the entire process, whether super delegates, main delegates, whatever it is, what chances would you say your candidate it will pull through? I mean, looking at the targets you have, the advantage, the message you're selling to the delegates, do you feel that Alan will still stand tall at the end of the day, looking at the numbers that we have now? 10 of them.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, let's face it. Since the time that Alan actively stepped forward to contest for the presidential primary, this would be 2007. To date, he is always in the first two, consistently.
Over the years?
Since 2007.
Right.
With 17, he was the number 2 after President Akufo-Addo.
Right.
And even then, at that time, because President Akufo-Addo did not secure 50% plus 1, there was the constitutional need for a runoff. It was Alan who said, look, and it was particularly significant, the gesture that he made at the time. We had stayed at Legon Great Hall area for close to 48 hours and it was still running. Everybody was just totally worn out. For the first time, I remember, there were not police presence, but armed, green-shirted military, AK-47 wielding security personnel. So that would tell you something. There was real tension. So it was Alan who said, listen, we've gone through this. Everybody's so tired. We don't even know what will come out of the second round. And of course, a second round is anybody's game, especially at the time when clearly, I mean, let's face it, in terms of resources, Alan was in a better shape. And at that crucial moment, you can imagine that resources was going to play a key role, and he knew it. He says, listen, let's just reduce the tensions. I'm ready to sacrifice my own presidential ambition for now. Let's forget a runoff. I'll concede to my senior brother, Nana Akufo-Addo. The party hailed this gesture. Nana Akufo-Addo made the kind of response which was quite unprecedented, basically amounting to a commitment, if you would ask me, that, Alan, you have made such a gesture that makes things easy for not just me as your main contender, but for this whole party. He referred to what I consider to be some kind of a principle that President Kufuor would have laid down when he, Nana Akufo-Addo, contested President Kufuor Sunyani 98. He said, of course, I mean, when you stand election and lose, it's not pleasant. I've been to a couple of elections, at least at least 3 major elections. I won 1, I lost 2.
Right.
I mean, when you lose an election, it's not the nicest experience. So you go sulking, licking your wounds, and so on and so forth. He told us, President Kufuor, candidate Kufuor then, is the one who came up to me in the house and said, listen, I'm your senior brother. You support me. Let me go this time around. Once I'm through, I can bet you. I will back you. It's going to be your turn. At that Legon Congress in 2007, it was the same principle Nana Akufo-Addo picked up. After Alan had conceded, and I was General Secretary then, I was physically present. He said, Alan, just as President Kufuor told me, let me also relay this message to you. Alan, you will come after me. I mean, more or less, it may not be binding, but, you know, it clearly, to all intents and purposes, represented a certain kind of commitment. So, based on that, a lot of people are saying that we want to see President Akufo-Addo giving Alan a clear, active support, or things like that. I mean, it's up to him now, and it's an independent thing, it's a democratic thing. So this is the person that has made such gestures, not just for his own ambition, but also for the whole party. So I'm just saying these things to let you know that, look, Alan has always been in a very strong position, very, very strong, as a leader and a contender in the presidential primary process. So whether it is going to be super delegates or whether it's going to be the final delegates, Alan definitely is a very, very strong contender.
And unfortunately, we've been timed out, so we need to go. But what will be your message?
Right? I thought I had a bit of time.
As we wrap up to the delegates of the NPP as we wrap up on this conversation.
Thank you very much. This is a very crucial moment. I would appeal to all delegates of the New Patriotic Party, and I will resonate the message that our auntie and our mom, the Queen Mother, who led the team yesterday from Kumasi, Nana Sewa Comfort, said, please, delegates, we are in the markets. We interact with NDC, MPP, CPP, everybody. What the people are telling us in the market is that, please, MPP delegates, bring us Alan Kyerematen, and we will support him, we will vote for him. Not just bring him. He is one person they called the king of trade. In Chi, he said, I was really excited. It just came. The woman said, Alan, you're king of trade. And he said, commerce is what keeps any economy going. If you have someone who is so imbued with the spirit and expertise of commerce, you have him as president, we have faith the economy has an opportunity and a chance to turn around for the good of all of us. NPP delegates, please bring us Alan.
And we have, definitely, Nana, we'll have this conversation again, I promise you. And of course, it's just the beginning of the contest, so a lot more of this will happen. Thanks for watching The Pulse. We're grateful for your time here on the Joy News channel. We're wrapping up. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates there for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.